80 years ago, this Shabbos, Parshat Emor, 1940. Here is what the Admor of Piasetzna, Rabbi Klonimus Kalman Shapira, taught his Hasidim, Talmidim, and anyone else who might have derived some Chizuk from his words in the Warsaw Ghetto. Now, to be sure, there is very little comparison, if any, between what happened to our brothers and sisters the time period of the Shoah and what we're going through today. But I continue to believe that we are called upon to draw lessons from previous experiences of calamity or distress or challenge. Draw lessons, internalize them, and hopefully apply them in our own lives. And to get chizuk from the idea that even though what we're going through is without parallel on a certain level, on another level, it is very much in step with what's happened to us before. We just need to draw upon those resources. Here's what the Admor of Piasetzna taught. I'm giving you just the essence of what he talked about. It's a longer essay than we have time for in this drasha. The counting of Sfira is described as counting from the day after Shabbat to get to the 50th day. Now, this was a great controversy between the Tzdokim and the Prushim. We, the descendants of the Prushim, maintained, that is, the Gemara teaches us, Mecharat Yom Tov. Rashi quotes it here from the Gemara Menachot, that really it means the day after the first day of Pesach. But the Tzdokim said, no, Shabbat really refers to actually Shabbat, Shabbat Breshit. And therefore it has to be always on a Saturday night that we have to start counting Sfira, and therefore Shabbat would always be the same day of the week. This was a major controversy in its day in the Second Temple period. But the Piasetzner asks, wouldn't it have been simpler if the Torah just said, Macharat HaPesach, the day after Pesach? Why did it mention Shabbat? It's specific, it was Shabbat. And he answers as follows. He says, when it comes to the mitzvah of Sfirat HaOmer, we appreciate that there's some value in amplifying the sense of Shabbat of our lives. An individual has many mitzvot to accomplish, and so many of them give the individual an avenue to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And yet, the mitzvah of Shabbat is about surrender. It's about a sense of taking one's hands off the controls, of recognizing our limitations, and beyond everything else, our utter dependence on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he applies it to his own time. And perhaps we can draw some lessons for our time. Lachen shechas v'shalom nase eitzar liYaakov. Therefore, God forbid at a time when there is a time of distress for Yaakov, meaning for the Jewish nation, umitpalim anu, eze tova yotzi mizeh. We're in a state of wonder. What exactly is the good that's going to come out of this? Halo adirab. No, to the contrary, ein oskim b'Torah kfi she'asku, v'hod mitzvot ein marbin lasot kfi she'asu. We're not learning as much Torah as we did before. We're not doing as many mitzvot as we did before. In what way is this a better situation now? What good will emerge from it ultimately when our avenues of connection to Hashem seem to be more limited than they were before the distress began? Writes the Piasetzner, Aval, Kevin Shemit Batlin Az Yoter LaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, since we nullify ourselves more to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the will of God, we also see that no one can save us other than Hashem. Through that act of self-nullification, we get closer to Hashem. Until all of an individual's actions, words, and even thoughts themselves become mitzvot unto Hashem, meaning they become ways of relating to God. And he explains this as regards Sfirat HaOmer. For all mitzvot, before we perform the mitzvah that involves a birkat mitzvah, that's saying a bracha, we use the words Asher Kishanu mitzvotav. Hashem, you've sanctified us through your mitzvot. But that's not true for Sfirat HaOmer, because we say that bracha every single day, Asher Kishanu mitzvotav tzivanu. The reason is because every day is another day in which we are sanctifying ourselves through the performance of this mitzvah. Mitzvah lemimnei shvuei u'mitzvah lemimnei yomei, says the Gemara in several places, in Menachot and in Rosh Hashanah and elsewhere. It's a mitzvah to count the weeks. It's a mitzvah to count the days. Every single day, says the Piasetzner, an individual has an opportunity through the day itself to become more sanctified, which means to become closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lachein mizeh kol etzem Yisraeli nasa mitzvah. The essence of every Jew becomes a mitzvah. For those of us who are more familiar with the world of Chassidut, that is connected to the Torah Hanistar, you know that in the Siddur, it gives you every day the Sphira, that there are 7 attributes by which HaKadosh Baruch Hu relates, as it were, to the world. Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And therefore, as against those 7 attributes, we have 7 weeks. Each week is called by the name of one of those attributes. And then each day of each week is given a name. So we began with Chesed, Shebechesed, then Gevura, Shebechesed, Tiferet, Shebechesed, and so on and so forth, until the day that we're up to today. Each day has its own significance. Each day its own rung on the ladder. Each day an opportunity to be sanctified through a relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Says the Piatzetzner, that begins with a sense of hitbatlut, a sense of self-nullification. When we know this, then we understand what the Gemara means when it describes Yom Tov Yisrael Mekadshin. When it comes to Yom Tov, the Jewish people sanctify the Yom Tov because we are the ones who are in charge, as far as the Torah is concerned, in setting the calendrical system of Bimakadesh Techodesh Yerushalayim to sanctify the new month. When it comes to Shabbat, Shabbat Kviva Kayama. Shabbat is set and fixed. Shashem Mekadesho, that God sanctified it already. And that's why we make the bracha on Shabbat, in Kiddush and in the davening, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And that's why in Yom Tov we say Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. When it comes to Shabbat, it's Shabbat just by itself. It doesn't require our action in order to become a sanctified day. It's written into the fabric of the cosmos by the author of the cosmos, by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when it comes to the days of Yom Tov, there it's Mekadesh Yisrael v'Hazmanim. Says the Piatzetzner, Va'al Yedei Hitkadshena b'Sfira, through our sanctification ourselves in each and every day of Sfira, Nikra Gam HaYom Tov, even the holiday itself, She'anu Mekadshin, even that holiday of Pesach, what is it called? B'Shem Shabbat. It too is our beginning of our understanding of the degree to which we are utterly, completely, and totally dependent upon the Holy One, blessed be He. And so may it be for us in these days, that if we can't do all the mitzvot that we were doing until now, as so many of us feel bereft that we have no anchor to go to, our shul, our undeclared, unofficial embassy of Eretz Yisrael and of the Torah, at least we can do whatever we can in our own homes. That we can feel that we're still connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and even more so, as was the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu in the 90th chapter of Sefer Tehillim. Limnot yameinu kein hodav v'navi levav chochma. Teach us to count our days, and that we may bring along a heart filled with wisdom. Wishing everyone an Erev Shabbat Shalom, a good Pesach Sheni, and hopefully each of us will be Mekadesh ourselves through our counting of Sfirat HaOmer. Asher Kiddushanu Mitzvotav V'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer.